I'm just going to carry on. Continue to welcome you all. Consider it done that you're all extremely welcome, and I'm thrilled to see you. So you might wonder about love and me and why love is so prevalent and prominent in everything that I do. And I suppose as I mentioned very briefly in the information about the event, I was brought up in a very loving family where I was surrounded by love right from childhood, very large family, and the word love meant to give someone a hug and a cuddle, and we were often also referred to as "come here, love, I want to give you a hug." And so the word love has never ever had any boundaries for me, and I've lived, very fortunately, had an experience of lots of love through all my life, and so that's one of the reasons why love is so very important to me and so prominent. And then I had an inspiration when I was in India for a retreat with an amazing woman called Daddy Janki, who at the time was, I think, about 90 years old, and went on to live to just over 100. And she told me that my mission was to become, I don't know, a spiritual broker to bring more love into the world, and that I should be interviewing leaders and people who had influence in order to encourage them to be more loving. So I started out with a project called Love in the Boardroom, which is ongoing. And I've interviewed over 70 major leaders, ranging from the Dalai Lama to Terry Leahy at Tesco, and all kinds of different people. But as I've progressed, what I've realized is that the boardroom is not a limited edition of the kind of granite men boardroom, granite women, because there are those too, the boardroom that's restricted to only the upper echelon. That the boardroom applies to our inner lives, to our own executive boardroom, who we live with on a day-to-day basis and commune with on a day-to-day basis, through our families, through classrooms, through every aspect of life. There is a kind of boardroom that runs the show. The thing is that the boardrooms that we know, and you know, the marble-lined halls of the City of London, are where an awful lot of decisions about our lives are made. And if those decisions are not being made from a place of love and caring and compassion, then, well, we can see the results in our world. And one of the big prompts for doing this was the number of people that I read and saw and heard saying how lonely they were, how sad they felt, how isolated they are, how they would give anything to be in warmth, to have a hug, to feel cosseted and cared for, and to have some comfort. And it struck me that in this winter, coming towards spring, that what we all need is for our hearts to be warmed, for our spirits to be kindled, and for us to start radiating love, to learn how we can radiate more love out there, so that the world has a heartwarming. The more we can bring ourselves together and learn to radiate love more powerfully, then I think we stand a better chance of achieving some kind of better understanding, more compassion, more caring, and ultimately better decisions for our lives. So that's where That's where my passion for this has come from, and it's persisted through all kinds of difficulties and challenges of moving countries and illness and all kinds of the usual challenges that we all have in our lives. And I am absolutely determined not to stop, to carry on. And the Dalai Lama would say that love is to do with giving happiness to others, and compassion results from helping to ease others' discomforts. And one of the things that in these times I feel that we need more and more is to be more self-compassionate, to learn that we aren't and can't be perfect, and that we can embrace ourselves, and embracing ourselves gives us a better opportunity to be able to virtually embrace others and offer them our love. So I would like to kick off with a little exercise in self-compassion, which I think you will all relish and you will all enjoy. And so if you could just relax a little bit, and initially just feet flat on the floor and hands on your thighs, flat on your thighs, and close your eyes, please. And think about how, if you were listening to a really good friend who had a problem, how would you talk to them? What would you say to them? Would you comfort them? Would you let your warm energy wrap around them and help them to feel better? And then think about yourself. How do you talk to yourself if you've got a problem? Are you kind and caring? Do you support yourself? What's the difference between the way you speak to yourself and the way you speak to your good friend who you've been comforting? So when you are in that position of having a challenge, remember to be kind to yourself, to radiate love to yourself. And you can give yourself a comforting, healing touch. So for now, take both your hands and place both your hands on your heart, and allow yourself to feel the energy of your heart begin to radiate. You can even give it a little massage if you want to, a little warming massage. Just feel the energy of your heart. Feel it open and radiate. And feel that love towards yourself, which then spreads out and radiates to your world. Then leave your left hand on your heart and put your right hand on your abdomen. And feel the difference. Feel what the energy is like there. And again, you can rub a little, give yourself a little massage. And then you can try both hands on your abdomen. First still, and then a little massage. Then you can let your hands drop to your sides. And then raise them and hold them up. And feel your palms pulsing with love as you send love out to the group, to the world. And then rest your hands slowly and gently back into your lap. And keep that feeling of radiant love exuding from you, and we'll build on that through the course of the evening. We will move through and see how we can build a real wave of love, a soul wave, a heart wave. And so now, speaking of the heart and our melting hearts, I'm going to introduce Tom Evans as our next speaker. Tom said that I can introduce him, was that as a love geek, Tom?
A heart geek.
A heart geek, well, a love and a heart geek. Tom has a background as an engineer, a sound engineer, having worked for the BBC, but he now specialises in heartful soul wave mind magic, and he's a very gifted meditation teacher. He's got a wonderful voice with fabulously mellifluous tones, as I described him. And so I'm going to hand you over to Tom, who's going to introduce you to the heart ray. So Tom, over to you.
Oh, that's very kind of you. Thank you for those lovely words, Christine, very heartfelt and sent words. Yes, I'm going to introduce you to, I'm going to expand on that heart warmth. I'm going to be brief because each and every one of you is going to get a gift after this, which is a free program that takes you from the base chakra all the way to the crown chakra, stopping off at the heart, and also introducing the alpha and omega chakras and taking you into a state called the unified chakra. So that will take me more than the length of this call to introduce you to. So they're going to get that as a gift at the end of it. But very briefly, I'm going to introduce you to the heart ray just now. And the heart ray isn't metaphorical. It's an absolute nascent force in most of us that we can tap into very easily with a little bit of guidance and warmth, and it comes from a fairly esoteric tradition, but it's a very simple thing to initiate in us. I'll go back to maybe a sort of more scientific view of how the heart works. Is that it was thought that the reptilian brain, some structure in the reptilian brain, kind of kept the heart beating, and if your brain was to stop working, then your heart would stop working. But it's known now that the heart is actually an independent mind center and an independent neurological center as well. And the wonderful people at the Heart Math Institution and others talk about the heart having 4 ways that it communicates. One is neurological, up and down the vagus nerve. And it's thought there's more comms now from the heart up to the brain than there is from the brain down to the heart. By biochemical means, through hormones, so if your hormones are raging, then it can affect the rest of your body. By a pulse wave, so as it's physically pulsing, it also makes an influence on our body and outside our body too. And also by electromagnetic waves. It's known now that the heart has more than 100 times, 1,000 times more strength than the waves that come out of our brain. But there's a 5th, more esoteric way that works across all space and time. So it goes to the past, present and future. And it's quite magical. But by magical, it's only magical if you don't know how the trick's done. And I love sharing with people how the tricks are done. But I want to share something which I've not shared with anybody at all thanks to Christine, because she's talked about the 4 elements. And I, in my esoteric training, I came across the 4 elements many years ago. And uniquely, the heart actually communicates with all 4 levels of being: the archetypal plane, the creative plane, the formative plane, and the material plane. And it got me thinking about the chakras and how they interact with the different planes as well. Now, about 2 million years ago, something happened. We learnt to talk. So we became self-aware and we got the word. So humanoids before that time didn't have what we call self-awareness. They could communicate, they could laugh, and they could sing, and we could recognize them, but they didn't have this ability to talk like we're doing right now. And this ability to talk is something we don't even give a second thought to now. And what it is our third eye, our thought center, communicating with our throat center, so our 6th chakra to our 5th chakra. And it's allowing the throat center to vibrate the air element, so you can hear some of my thoughts right now and then have other thoughts of your own. So my 3rd eye communicating with your 3rd eye through my 5th chakra and your ears. That's kind of how it works. Obviously above the 3rd eye, we've got the crown chakra, which connects through to the fire element, which is the archetypal plane. The 3rd eye itself connects to the water element, because it's got connected with the fluidity of ideas. The heart chakra itself is the pivot point between the above and below. So it's 4 chakras up from our root, and it's 4 chakras down from our crown. It's the pivot point. And the lower chakras connect with more with the material plane. And what's happening right now, we're going through an amazing phase of evolution where we're learning how to take the heart chakra under conscious control. Now, in the same way, before we knew how to speak, we didn't know all the applications for speaking. Now, there's applications for speaking like speaking, there's singing, there's communicating. I know some sound therapists actually use their throat chakra to utter healing sounds that heal other people. With the heart chakra, you can do all sorts of magical things. So the first thing you can do, and I'm going to do it right now, I'm just going to fire up my heart chakra. Not that it's not fired up all the time, so let's fire it up a little bit more. And you may feel a little tingle in your heart chakra when I do this. So it's very subtle, very magical, very special thing. So the heart chakra can go out to people in the present right now and send healing to them. I was sharing with Susie Pearl earlier on, thanks for joining us, Susie, that the weirdest thing I've done with my heart chakra is heal a budgie over Skype in Vancouver, which is quite amazing. There you go. So it's a real healing force you can actually use for that. But you can also send it to the past to heal past issues. You can also send it to the future. So if you're going into a meeting where it's going to be slightly antagonistic, you can send it to the hearts of everybody in that meeting. And by the time you get to that meeting, the air will be softened. It's quite magical. You can send it up through your 3rd eye to the crown and send love to the source. And just for the appreciation of being you in this appreciation. And then what happens is it fires right back down again, completely amplified. And you can turn it through 90 degrees and send it right through your solar plexus and sacral, through your root into Mother Earth. So the heart chakra, and also the heart chakra can come up to the throat chakra and imbue your words with amazing love, as mine are right now. So you can go up to the fire element, out through your throat to the air element, to the water element, which is kind of the fluid element all around us, past, present, and future, and down to the earth plane as well. So that, in a nutshell, is the magic of the heart ray and how powerful our heart is. And we don't even know all the applications yet we've got for it. In the same way we didn't know all the things that we could do with our voice 2 million years ago, we're just going to find out. And if you want to know how to fire it up, Christine will send a link out later, and you can access my Heartful Living course that will take you on a journey through all the chakras and kind of beyond. So that's me in a nutshell. Hope you didn't mind a bit of geekery.
Thank you, Tom. That was wonderful. And very, very concise. Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay. Right. I'll go back to gallery view. So yes, I do have a link to Tom's wonderful gifts, which I will perhaps put on the chat at the end.
Yeah.
And the same will happen with the other speakers when the time comes. It may be tomorrow or the day after before we get round to doing that. So thank you. And I guess now we're going to move on to Ginger Gilmore, who is a wonderful artist, and she has a fantastic book called The Bright Side of the Moon. I'm going to leave her to tell you more about the work that she does and how she does it. But the sequence of paintings she's going to talk about is called The Awakening. It's an awakening journey. And there are 3 paintings, and I'm hoping that we will get to see a graphic representation of the paintings, whilst we also see Ginger as well. So I'm going to see if I can get this to work.
Do the triptych, yeah.
So that's the triptych. So can you see the painting? Yeah, Ginger, can?
Yes, but I can see you, but not me.
Yeah, I don't quite. Unfortunately, the speaker view. Hold on a minute. Can you see you now?
No, let's just see you. But the photos are great.
It's more down to the view. It's down to the view we've selected on our computer. So in the top right hand corner, there's a thing called View, and we can select it so we can see like a gallery. There's a standard view, a side-by-side speaker, and a gallery view. So it's more down to the way that we've selected our computers is what you see.
So you're talking right now, and I see you in my pictures.
Yeah, and when you speak, Ginger, you will come up for people in all views. So as long as you just speak away, then you'll appear.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll talk away.
We can see you.
You can see me.
Yeah.
Okay. Val says she can see me when I'm talking. Good. Thank you for doing this, Christine. I think it's a very important thing that we all do, because humanity's in their evolution of consciousness is entering a new era. And the keynote for me is that we're being given an opportunity to think with our hearts and feel with our minds. And what I have been guided to and inspired to see as my role as an artist is to take the viewer on a journey to the heart within. It's all there. And I'm talking about the heart that is full of compassion and love. And the thing that a lot of people don't understand, because our culture is so ruled by the mind, that we think that the intellect is our solution. If we can figure it out, if we can analyze it, if we can break it down. The intellect actually serves to help us survive. So you have your identity that's being built from day one by your culture, by your family, by your fears, and memories are stored, and you're building this identity. And most of the time, it becomes like a prison, a cage. And if we talk about wanting to inspire and radiate, the thing to do is to make your cage, your identity bigger. And the more that you focus on the fact that actually beyond that cage, beyond the intellect, beyond your memories, is something of a very special place. The Indian from India calls it chitta, and a lot of people call it soul. Some people call it cosmos, but it is a place of unlimited potential, and it's in every one of us. And it's through the heart that we will reach that. So what I've been inspired by having 8-10 years with Cecil Collins in the ILEA, he helped us to open that doorway within ourselves so that my reality over the years became more the chitta, which then influenced my memories, the information that I gathered, and my identity, so that my intellect, it would serve the highest place within. So there's many layers, as you can see in these paintings, where I was directed intuitively to create sculptural paintings. And the reason for that is that you're normally used to a two-dimensional painting, or you're used to seeing sculpture. But when I mix them, what the viewer seeing this their intellect will try to understand it, but their heart will go with it because it speaks to your heart. It says that you are beautiful. You are divine. Life is sacred. Come with me. And the doorway is the first one. It's the more gentle one. You would have probably done more inner work on yourself to where your identity is bigger and willing to go on an adventure. And therefore you're not concerned when you reach a higher energy, because anytime we get concerned and full of fear, your breathing will change and the intellect will go, oh my God, they're worried. So whenever you get in that state, the simplest thing to do is to take your breathing down and slow. So you'll be telling your intellect, or the intellect will say, oh, everything's okay. I don't have to panic now. So if you come back to the painting, you have a more solid aspect, a material aspect, because we are material. We are also going deeper and deeper into finer shades of glazes, equally to represent the material aspect of who we are. I use opaque colors. And then there are transparent, translucent colors that take you in and out. And there's always a freedom for you to go as far as you like or not. Once you've, and to some esotericists, this is like the third initiation. Once you've gone through that towards the center eye, you reach the chasm of fire. And that's another phase that took me a while to be able to handle without going, oh my God, this is too much, I'm overwhelmed. And then once you get used to that a bit more, you come to the messenger, where all aspects of who you are, you're just being. And that's when, wherever you go, the breath that you radiate is just born from the truth of what you are that never goes away. So for me, it's always I'll go through different phases, different cycles where, okay, we're being challenged now. What do I have to do to open more to a higher frequency and just let it be? You're not doing anything except to be open to what you are naturally. And that's something extremely beautiful. That's me.
Okay.
I didn't go over time, did I?
No. No,
Jolly
not
good.
no. You've actually got another couple of minutes if you'd
Ah,
like to.
go deeper into it. Yes, well, all I can say is that this COVID experience is a blessing in some ways. I have had 4 children, a rock and roll traveling gig to gig life, and all kinds of other life experiences that kept me very busy. And I used to dream after Cecil's classes, oh God, will I ever not have to deal with the mumps again? And just give me the time so I can focus on my art, because I'd start a painting and suddenly one of them would have measles. And I had to learn to hold that space. And now with COVID, that dream of wanting to just have the time to be inwards and go further and challenge myself has come true, though it's not easy at the same time. I'm used to, if I want to go see a friend, I just go and do it. I fly anywhere to go see them. I can't do that. I have to stick in my house. Me, myself, and I are having quite an experience. And so is the world. And the more that I could hold the fact that I have felt for many years that there's a special energy coming to humanity, and that's my focus. So my ego has to surrender in a very precarious way, and keep smiling.
So, thank you, Ginger. That's really absolutely beautiful. I saw Ginger's painting, The Chasm of Fire, on Facebook, and whilst I've known her work and seen some beautiful statues that were in, probably still are in Heathrow in one of the terminals, I was absolutely blown away by The Chasm of Fire, and it just seemed to resonate so strongly with our current times. And I couldn't agree more that we are being stretched to find ways of being that we've never had to do before, because of the isolation and the inability just to hop on a plane, go places. I think most of us has probably experienced that we've not been able to see family and friends in the way that we have taken for granted basically all our lives. So having this energy from our hearts bringing us together, I think is perfect. And thank you. And thank you again to Tom. So I'm wondering if it would be a good idea, Francesca, to bring you on now ahead of Nikki Mariana, if that's okay with both of you, just in order that you're not feeling pressured to have to cram things in before you go off at 8 o'clock. So with pleasure, I would love to see you and hear you. I'm sure everyone would. So Francesca Cassini concentrates mostly at the moment on her rather fabulous women's over 50 community called the Silver Tent. She started it in 2016, and she now has over 7,000 members. And it's a really active, interesting group with a lot of very opinionated and very differently orientated women. And so it remains extremely lively, and I think it's quite a full-time job managing all the different opinions and views that come up, and it's pretty much, I would think, quite a full-time job. But I have to say that Francesca's also an extremely talented author, and I've been privileged to read a three-part novel, or the first part of a three-part novel that she has been working on for a while, and her creative imagination is quite astonishing, and she really connects with her muse. And so there's a lot to Francesca, and so I'm going to hand you the floor now, Francesca, and say lovely to see you here, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Christine, for such a beautiful introduction. And I mean, what a place to be, just really enjoying being here. So thank you. And yes, talking about flying off on holiday, and I was thinking back to, I think it was May 2000, and I don't know, 15, 16, whenever it was. And I was flying from Lima in Peru to the nearest airport to Lake Titicaca. And I was going on a 5-week bucket list tour. And I was sitting next to a woman that I thought looked older than me, but actually was 6 months younger than me. And I was supposed to be looking after her because she had ME. But actually, we discovered that she ended up looking after me. But while we were flying towards Lake Titicaca, and I don't know, we were just chatting over a coffee or something, I suddenly had this extraordinary epiphany that when women are over 50, and I'm sure it's the same for men too, but my focus seemed to be very much on us women, that I had this sense that as we go through menopause and out the other side, that we have the opportunity to access a wild, wonderful, and wise aspect of ourselves. And I began to get this sense that being a wise elder woman is in our DNA. And that what if everything that we've done before, whether that's raising a family, whether it's creating a business, whether it's a combination, whatever it might be, what if that was practice to get to this point as a wise elder woman? And rather than this sort of downhill trajectory that is sort of foisted upon us in our society, or our Western society today, what if actually we start going up? And it sort of came through quite subtly, but with these distinct like layers of this concept. And I'm sure it was sitting next to this amazing woman from Alaska. She was just brilliant. And I've got so many stories to share about her, but they're not really part of this. And that whole trip culminated in a week retreat in the Amazon jungle for taking ayahuasca. And I'm really rubbish in the heat, and particularly that kind of heat. And I'm not very good at letting go. So handing myself over to something like ayahuasca was quite an ordeal. But I had this incredible week in the Amazon jungle. I came back to England. I ended up spending the next winter 4 months off grid on my own in a yurt during the wildest, wettest winter on record in Wales. And this whole thing, it was as if that was a gestation period for this idea of the silver tent to come about. And so through a series of experiences, the silver tent emerged. And I don't feel that it was Francesca's idea. There's something very much like that there's a legacy of mine from eons ago, and it just really feels like it came from a very high space. And I remember having had this idea of an online community initially for women over 50 to congregate, where those who had felt they'd lost their way, lost their sense of identity, could connect with those who either hadn't lost it or had refound their way and could somehow get together. And the idea being that we reconnect with that wild, wonderful and wise elder aspect of ourselves to the point where we know how we want to take that out into the world. So for some of us, that might be just playing with our grandchildren. For others, it might be working and participating in our local community. And for others, it might be being on a much bigger, more global stage. So I was driving along this beautiful road through a Welsh valley, thinking, what would be the name of a place where women over 50 would congregate? A bit like the Red Tent for younger menstruating women. What would be the name? Well, you can't ask a question like that without immediately knowing what the answer is, but the energy seemed to come down out of somewhere up here, through my crown chakra, shot through my body, right down into the ground. I burst into tears. I got goosebumps all over my skin, and I'm just driving along going, it's the silver tent. And I just knew that something really extraordinary had been birthed in that moment. And so in the last 4 years, we've been really pulling that together. And the most incredible women have rocked up. Some who don't feel like they fit, and others who absolutely do. Some who come in for a season and then leave, and others who are rock solid. And you know, this whole thread of love that's woven through this call has emerged more and more powerfully in the Silver Tent, as the sense that we don't always know who we are, because the truth of who we are is as easy as breathing. It's natural. So we don't think it's anything special until we have that reflected back to us. And so the Silver Tent is this glorious space of witnessing, where somebody might share their fears or their joy or whatever it might be, or their anguish, or their, you know, polarizing ideas about what's going on in the world. And there'll be this witnessing. And so it's a beautiful space where the majority of people are relatively non-judgmental. There are still obviously people who get a little bit pokey and upset, but on the whole, that space is held marvelously. And so many women start to see more of who they are, and to recognize a deeper layer of value that they might not have been aware of before. And one of the things that I set up during part of the lockdown was something called Love Circles, where we meet on Zoom like this, and somebody very courageously allows themselves to sit in the love seat, and the rest of us tune in to who they truly are and then share that with them. And the depth that we go intuitively into that person and then share it is an extraordinary experience for all concerned. The women in the love seat are courageous because they don't know what they're going to receive. And then those of us who share our intuitive experience of that person have to be courageous enough to share it. But where it takes us all is to such a high level of seeing somebody's heart and recognizing that we are so much more than this and our identity, that we truly all have treasure within that's valuable and valid in our world today. So it's a glorious space of love, and I feel incredibly privileged to have birthed it. and even more privileged to witness the women that congregate to really help it fly. So yeah, I think that's probably all I have to share right now. But if you are a woman over 50, Tom, I'm so sorry that that doesn't include you. And you're not a member of the Silver Tent yet. If that inspires you, please come and join us. That'd be lovely to see you there. Thank you. And thank you so much to everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Francesca. That was really beautiful. And I'm glad you're able to share a little about the Silver Tent and your aspirations for it, and how it's unfolded, because it really is quite an amazing venture. And I'm sure we all join together to wish you the greatest continuing success with it, and lots of love. So, okay. So now, hi Ginger, did you want to say something? No? Okay.
Am I supposed to mute then?
No, it's fine. It's just you came in to speak of you. So thank you. I'm sure we all really appreciate what Francesca has said. And whilst the Silver Tent is a women's group, and our two lovely men who are here tonight obviously won't be joining, I think it's a great idea to have groups that come together, especially for groups that have perhaps found it difficult to be recognised. Older people can tend to slip from notice, although thankfully that's changing, and there's not that sudden cut-off anymore where, oh, you're such and such an age. You know, they say 60 is the new 30, so there we go. We'll see what happens. But I think there are lots of opportunities for all age groups to get together and to bring themselves to a place where they can carry on achieving and growing and learning, which keeps our brains active and keeps us in good form. So we're going to now move on to Nicky Mariana Hope. And Nicky Mariana is an artist. She makes essences, and she's someone who believes in and encourages balance and intuition. And she is someone who makes the invisible visible and the unheard heard. So with no further ado, I'm going to move over to Nicky Mariana, and you can see her fabulous painting behind her. If we need to bring some slides in, we'll do so, but I think we're probably okay with what's on the screen, or will be on the screen in a moment. So okay, thank you, Nicky Mariana.
Thank you, Christine. And wow, I can so relate to all the previous speakers and feel very privileged to be here. Thank you. The painting you can see behind me, I created after listening to a session where questions were asked from Ascended Master Lady Sarah, and the answers were channeled through someone called Rachel Goodwin. I've been working on and off with Rachel Goodwin and with Lady Sarah since 2006. Lady Sarah is the Ascended Master for the age of Aquarius. And I painted this at the beginning of December as the age of Aquarius was really beginning to come into being. It took me some time to paint. It took me 2 days. I normally spend an hour on a painting. I paint very fast. So this was a very long period for me to spend. It holds the energy of Lady Sarah, which is energy of balance. It's for people, for animals, and for our planet, for the earth. And what you cannot possibly see from there is that I have made some prints, and these prints have a 3D effect with a resin coating on certain places. And that kind of magnifies and gives it a whole different aspect. Each color has its own vibration. Each person will see something different in that painting. And I have worked from a shamanic perspective with clients and with students, asking them to tune into a particular color, and it has been a very important color to them. Some people it will collect past lives, some people will see a spoon there, a cauldron, and it's a cauldron of love and balance. Others will see a standing stone, which I'm told is exactly the shape of a standing stone in the stone circle in one of the Scottish Islands, and it's gone out of my head which one. It's very powerful. It brings balance. And that is what Lady Sarah is about. So if anyone would like to order a print from me, please do. Christine, you have a couple of other photographs of paintings that I've done. For some reason, I'm being prompted to please to talk about those. These were paintings I did back in 2009 when I had followed spirit and sold my house and let go of everything, all my possessions, everything. My main companion was my Labrador, and she kept me amazingly steady and well and focused on being alive and well in this moment in time. That's it. 6 months after I sold my house, my Labrador was diagnosed with cancer, which was very virulent. So I rented a mobile home in a campsite place, and we stayed there. And she sat beside my feet as I painted these. For me, they're the joy of leaving the physical challenges of being in physical form, and the light that we can follow. And to the side is our journey in spirit to reconnect with who we truly are. And the days were warm, and it was the most heart-filled, joyful time of my life to be creating these paintings. And I think that's all I need to say, Christine.
Thank you. I hadn't heard your story about the two paintings. That's very, very moving. And as you know, I was very moved by your paintings, by the Aquarius painting that you spoke of first when we had a discussion meeting in the Silver Cauldron, part of Francesca's Silver Tent, where you described how it came through to you, just as you have tonight. It's I'm absolutely loving hearing how we all have our muse, we all have our way of connecting and being connecting and being enriched by what we receive, what we channel through us, what comes to us that we know is beauty. I mean, one of Ginger's or Ginger's byword is beauty and wonder. And I think we've seen some incredible beauty tonight. We've had beauty from Tom with the heart tray. We've had beauty from Ginger with her glorious paintings and her raison d'etre and the beautiful expressions. Francesca's wonderful vision for the Silver Tent, and now Nikki Mariana with these wonderful vibrant colours that are just really absolutely glorious, and details of everybody's work and how to gain more access to it will be on a resources page, which I will publish tomorrow for all of you. And so we're coming towards the end now of our great hearthwarming. I hope that you have found inspiration and your hearts do feel warmed by what we've experienced. I'm going to close, and in order to close, I'm going to stop the screen sharing, and I'm going to read to you. Tom mentioned earlier about the elements. We'd been talking about elements, and I sent Tom an elemental journey which I wrote, and it takes you through, it's a visualization, and it takes you through earth, fire, wind and water. And I am actually going to share the screen again because I want you to do something. Okay, so if you have something close to hand, which is a precious stone or something that's a talisman, something that you absolutely love, then take that into your hand, touch it to your heart, and imbue it with the radiance of love. If you don't have anything to hand, then feel free to choose one of these stones, whichever one speaks to you as being the right stone for you. And then we'll set off on this elemental journey through earth, fire, wind, and water. So let us begin now on an inspired journey to love, joy, and peace, gently and safely collecting missing pieces, lightly traveling to the center and beyond to resourcefully remember and recollect forgotten glories and the deeply creative essence of our souls. Here on earth, our hearts and souls can now enjoy a profound awakening with many lessons, and it is vitally important that we remain connected to our Mother Earth enjoying and valuing ourselves as human beings, grounded in our physical bodies, lovingly at peace with all the elements of ourselves, of each other, of the planet, of the cosmos, as one. First of all, I invite you to relax. Close your eyes and simply be in your own special place of peace. Place your hands palm downwards on your legs, feet flat on the floor, and now imagine that you are growing roots. You are sending out tendrils, tendrils of sensing into the earth and anchoring yourself to the essence of the planet. Fill this with colours and sounds and feelings that are perfect for you right now, and feel the loving and nurturing connection with the wonders of Mother Earth, who gives birth to and supports all life. Now think of your stone. It's the perfect one for you. Consider the idea and possibility that the stone is part of you and you of it, as with all things. Ask your stone what special message it contains for you and allow it to lead you to the essence of Mother Earth so that you can rediscover anything you may have forgotten and bring it into your life now for greater good. Follow the rich veins of nourishing minerals in Mother Earth and allow their nectar to feed your heart and soul, awakening now to follow the vein deeper and allow your roots and shoots to wander and range widely throughout the planet, even beyond this planet, and gather the perfect ingredients you need for your journey. Deeper and more connected with the earth, with the riches under your feet, which have always been present and are now a present for you. The great gifts of the earth, drawn from the deep darkness of mystery and creation. And as you travel deeper, notice the warmth, the balmy air getting warmer and warmer until the core is melting and transforming, transfusing, transmuting into a delicious sense of cocooning, softly melting so that the harder masculine melds with the softer feminine. The colors merge, the edges blur and become soft and gentle, and it flows and you flow with complete compassion and love towards the center, allowing yourself to blend with the core, with the deep love of the mother and father, moving towards the center deeper and deeper until it is bubbling and cascading, and tiny healing flames begin to emerge as we enter the flow and merge and are one with the fire, that perfect flame of cleansing fire, which purifies and purges and rekindles our spirits, forges us into strength and beauty, and imparts the violet golden flame of compassionate love, a central sun flickering and glimmering and glowing like our newly refreshed soul. And as we are remade and reborn, we hear the murmur of a gentle breeze, a warm and refreshing draught of air that surges and soars and takes our spirit with it. As lifted, we become lighter, lighter and feather-light. We are borne tenderly by this current of air as we traverse the earth, the globe, the universe, and quest for our hidden treasures, our eyes alighting on the perfect gifts and blessings to remember our sole purpose and our inner peace. We gather and garner our resources and merge them into perfect, peaceful beings of light. Our feather-like being floats effortlessly and allows the perfection of its life on earth to continue to unfold and flow. As the sound of trickling water begins to appear, and we notice we are being born into a place of immense beauty and fertility. The breeze pauses for a moment, and we descend gently into the source, the wellspring, a cascading soft fount of pristine water of intense and clear hues, turquoise, emerald, sky blue, sapphire, sparkling, iridescent, purifying and soothing. We float in total comfort of the earth's riches and glories, carried in perfect direction as the spring merges with the stream, and then flowing on into the slow and stately river, drinking in the majesty and power of the surroundings, reflecting on the mountains and valleys, the trees and flowers, the colors and forms of your earth, enrich your body, your heart, your mind, your soul with replenishing energy, to vitalize you for your tasks in life and ease your journey through the secret garden of your soul. And so your godlike self is born into the water, where it merges and becomes one, fluid as a ripple and a wave, with an ever-growing power of perfection, totally at peace and at one with the ocean of this life, this sea of souls supporting and swelling with love and compassion for all that is. And we'll now pause just for a moment. And as you now breathe deeply, your eyes open when you're ready, and you return to this moment, embracing yourself and seeing yourself and where you are with gentle eyes and inspired vision to create. And as you begin to sense yourself as whole and perfectly peaceful, you embrace and reintegrate all your gifts of male and female, of strength and gentleness, of warmth and vibrancy, of graceful power, joy and love, expressed in unity and oneness. So sit now and stay in peace and feel your connections growing. Then when you're ready, return with your gifts and recognize the exquisite essence of your soul and spirit as your own unique fifth element. So welcome back from your journey through the elements. Now there's the thing. So there we are. That's almost the end of our very first heartwarming, and I hope it'll be the first of many. I was going to read a short poem about bringing light and being in light, but I feel that that we're quite complete as we are, and I think I would like to perhaps open up to questions and suggestions and contributions of any kind that that you might have. So if you just raise your hand, and if you want to speak, then I will unmute you. Thank you, Mariana.
The reason you hadn't heard of those other two paintings before is because I have never shared them before. I was just guided that they needed to come this evening.
Oh, thank you. I think we're probably all very honoured and grateful for your sharing and for your prompting.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Tom, do you?
Well, I'd just like to say that you brought things very nicely full circle there, that the heart ray is the gateway to the fifth element.
Yeah.
When you go to the unified chakra state, then all four elements are available at the same time, which forge into the fifth element, which is again a gateway, as the wonderful paintings from Ginger allude to, that takes you into another level, another dimension, another state of being. So I thought that brought things together very nicely. Thank you, Christine.
Ginger. You need to unmute.
One thing I feel is a very important statement that Cecil left with us, all the students, is that you don't need to understand to create. You have to create in order to understand. And he said that a great work of art is a mastery of technique, but a masterpiece is a gift from God.
Beautiful.
And he inspired all of us to use that as a vision so that we can be messengers, bringing in the invisible greatness of being human into form.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
Nice.
You're welcome. Thank you for creating this space.
Well, a few minor hiccups along the way, but I think we overall came through unscathed.
That's what life is, transforming the limitations.
Yes, absolutely, it is. Yeah. One of the things I discovered at the very beginning of starting the interviewing for the Love in the Boardroom project was that I had to be and become love in order to be the bridge that enabled other people to talk about something which they had formerly considered taboo. That word love was absolutely, when I asked some people what love meant to them in their lives, I might just as well have actually punched them in the gut, because it was such a shocked reaction of what kind of question is that? In the end, we always got there to some kind of understanding. And a question that Hugo raised was essentially, correct me if I'm wrong here, Hugo, but it was basically, how can we think to live by love when there is so much that is unlovable? And loving the unlovable is I think one of the big challenges of living from love and living from the heart. So Hugo, do you want to say a few words?
Oh, I appreciate that you have addressed the question I sent you by email. But through this session, I think I got my answers. So yes, I think that I got some answers to my question
Okay,
through the session.
thank you. Good. I am proposing to offer another of these sessions in a couple of weeks. I haven't fixed the date finally. I was going to do it 2 weeks from today, but someone, some of you may know Stuart Pearce, who wrote The Angels of Atlantis, and he used to be Master of Voice for the Royal Shakespeare Company. So he has got the most incredible speaking voice, but he can't make the 16th of February. So I'm going to try and rejig the dates. And I did think that we could explore this question of love and what appears to be very not love, if there is such a thing as not love, but things that are very difficult to love, and how we can love them. It's not a passport for bad behavior. It's not a passport for being evil, but there are ways to embrace and love that which is not so attractive. Ginger, would you like to speak?
I find it a matter of identification. So that if you're looking at the world from the materialistic viewpoint, where we have labeled things and we've judged things as good and bad, then to contemplate from that viewpoint, how do I love the bad? Which also comes back to your own shadow. But when you go to the higher identification, where your identity is more to do with the soul realms, where there is no judgment, there might be a shift of vibration depending on where your attention is. So that, for me, is the most important thing to do first, is to identify with the greater level of potential and possibilities for life, and then come into the physical world. And you do have to make certain changes. There is, within the material world, a lot of craziness out there, and I find the only way that I can help is to be in a particular vibration of my own identification and work on yourself, upgrade yourself. And then I think the answers are easier. You love life, and you don't necessarily approve of, I suppose Mrs. Tweedy, my Sufi teacher, used to say that you love the soul of the person and you don't necessarily approve of their actions, but it's the only way to help is to radiate a certain vibration. If people don't see that it's possible as a human being, how will we get anywhere? If we stay identified with all the lower vibrations, then we're not going to get anywhere.
So vibrating at love and above.
But you have to be it. It's not a matter of doing. It's the truth of the being of it. And once you touch that space, I think you have a lot of different answers of how to deal with the visible world. And it's the only way that the visible world will be shifted, because we've all created this. As a collective, we created what's there. And equally, when you touch that other space as a reality, you see that you have the potential to create a different world. And we can. We just with your thoughts of shifting, change your identification, and you become another drop in the ocean that believes that there's another possibility.
Yes, certainly the experiences that I've had of being love and exuding that love and living from it, change does take place. It's almost miraculous sometimes how people shift just by being in a different energetic presence. As there you are, being love, giving love, and people feel it. They really do feel it. You know, I've had CEOs of major banks and different large companies who've experienced radical transformations just through a 40-minute interview of asking questions that had never been put to them before. No one had ever said to them, what does love mean to you? How do you express it in your life?
But true love gives space of non-judgment. You're giving them the freedom not to agree. And that total freedom converts people because they see past their own veils. They touch the truth of what you're sitting there emanating, because the real love doesn't judge them. They rejoice in the difference. And I love Tom's idea of sending the droplet of heart ahead of time. I've done it quite often. I actually sit there and, well, I do it when I'm cooking. I have this lovely story of my granddaughter, Brianna. I was teaching her that you have to stir in a certain direction and think love while you're cooking and stirring and stirring and stirring. And she goes to her granddad and said, who's making the scrambled eggs, and she's standing on the stool. And he's doing it the other way. Granddad, you're not putting love into the scrambled eggs. So, where did you get that idea? Grandma told me that. You can't get away from it. But it's all kinds of little things and big things that we do every day helps.
It does.
Thank you for that, Ginger. I'll just make the point also that we're used to the thought and the notion that thoughts come from our head, but it's also not only possible, but it's true. We can have heart-based thoughts. So there's a very simple alchemical technique called the two-mind transformation. And what you do is you take the desire that you'd like something from your head and you allow it to float down to your heart center. And then you take the fear, or the not lovely, that it might not appear, and you allow that to come up to the heart. You let those two things merge and cancel each other out. And then you let from the heart just the notion, the thought form, if this thing was to manifest in the world, what difference would it make for you, for the people around you, and the planet? So the notion that comes out from you is a pure heart-based thought form. And that's true. I put that in there, sorcery. When you're stirring the thing, it's sorcery of a different kind.
Yep.
Yes. My daughter, when she was at university, used to call and say, Mum, you gave me the recipe for your blah-de-blah chili con carne or whatever it was. I followed the instructions exactly, but it doesn't come out like yours. And I used to say to her, you know what's missing, don't you? The essential pinch of love. If you don't put the pinch of love in, it won't taste the same, because everything comes from love. So that's a lovely story about your granddaughter, the stirring.
Yeah.
And of course, it's possible to pop it into the white space. So around your paintings, Nikki, the white space on those paintings, I was seeing the love, not only from the paintings themselves, but from the white space around it, because that's what you imbued with that work of art. And if you look in your layers, Ginger, and you keep looking and looking through the layers, then right down the middle is just that essence, just right in the center.
You should see them for real.
Well, there you go. That's an opportunity, isn't it? So
Someday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the energy comes out as well as take you in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
marvelous.
David's father was sitting in the kitchen. He was a scientist, a geneticist, and he was a very held Englishman. And I had this one painting that was going to go to California for the whole life exhibition. And I was upstairs bathing with Sylvia, his mother, with the kids. And when I came down, he looks at me and he goes, he's not a man of many words. And he just says, Ginger, I think you should turn that painting around. I was quite a novice then. I was about people's expressing their opinions about things. And I had the courage to say, what do you mean, Doug? And he says, because it's addictive. He says, it draws me in and then it gives me something back.
Wow.
So I've had several of those. And Cecil, my art teacher, he's all his paintings and things you can go and see are in the Tate. And there's a wonderful YouTube called Visions and Fools about his work and his vision. It's just so inspiring. If I lose my way, I just watch that. But there was a time that David was downstairs in the den writing lyrics with this gentleman. And I had come home and I was given my first exhibition and I was so excited and everything. So Andy said, can I see what you're working on? So I've got these, we had what kind of Queen Anne house, lots of tall windows and going up, I think that's Queen Anne. Anyway, we had our big bedroom, bathroom, and this sort of little den where I was using as a studio to paint, and so I could bathe the kids. And so there are all these paintings, they're still in process. And he comes in and he starts swearing at them and saying that one you should cut up, it's like cat's meat, and just went on and on. And let me out of here. And I said, Andy, the door's not locked and you asked to come in here. Well, and then he sits down, he says, why, you don't want to hear about my life. I said, do you want to tell me about your life? And he says, okay. So he starts telling me all about his marriage and how it broke up and all these terrible stories and everything. And then eventually he went back downstairs and I went to bed because I had to get up early, take kids to school. And I'm walking out through the bathroom through this den so that I could not wake up David, and David had put him to sleep in the room. And I thought, wow, that's instant karma. If only David had realized how this man was reacting to my artwork. So when I got back, he asked to borrow Mrs. Tweedy, my spiritual teacher at the time's book. But the reason why I'm telling you this story, I go to class and Cecil looks at me and he sees that I was like worse for wear, in shock emotionally. Again, this is like my first exhibition, first time going out painting this type of painting. And he says, what's happened? So I told him and he says, right, get that reaction, you're painting the truth. And that person had to deal with his own opening and letting go of the veils. So it's almost like a compliment. You get used to it after a while, you know. But I think the humanity's starting to open, and their longing is so strong that they need this imagery now. At one point, it might be too hard for them to accept, and you just keep going, even if you're the last artist on the planet, you know. It's but they're starting to respond different because they're being put up against their heart, their true heart needs and longings and the purity of what life really is, struggling for humanity to get through the breakthrough. But I think they need new imagery. They need this type of imagery and music and author, everything, just people to be inspired to share whatever their soul's supposed to do at this point of evolution.
So it's 21:37 here. It's 20:37 for those of you who are in the UK. If there are any more questions or comments, then we can probably have another five minutes or so, and otherwise we will bring our gathering to a graceful close.
Thank you, Hugo. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, well, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you to Nikki Mariana, to Tom, to Ginger, to Francesca, now departed, and to all of you for being here. And it's been it's been an education for me and a really delightful experience. And I deeply appreciate all your contributions and your presence and your grace. And I send you all with radiant love to continue through the rest of your lives, as it's certainly much needed in our world. So thank you, and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you, everyone. Ciao.
Ciao.
No.
Ciao.